set out with it, and so we put the team us, and we went over there and found them coyotes and dug them out, killed them.
You sold them.
Good.
Because our neighbors were selling them down coyote cups.
Yeah,
In the early 50s.
but I didn't anyway, and we killed them, and then we didn't go back to farm. It just cut that stuff off right there.
Well, on that really bad day, whatever it was, a lot of people reported that the day started off as just a really protectively
I
pretty
can't
day.
remember back then.
And they said it just, they had, in fact, one woman that went off to a funeral, it was so nice that one of the first days they hadn't had any wind, she opened up all the windows on her house so that she could air the house out while they was going to the funeral.
That was a bad idea.
That was a bad idea.
Real bad idea.
It was a foot or so deep when they got there.
Blowed it on through.
What was the house like you was living in? Was it the same house or?
It was, see, they lived in dugouts when they first moved out there, most of them. Half dirt down the bottom and 4-foot board up here and then a trough.
Right.
Okay, my dad brought them boards and nailed them on the wall and built a house, 8 foot high, 2 boards high. But they were nailed end to end, see? And they give in the wind, see? And they wasn't,
We're very stable.
wasn't stable, just end to end. Well, the thing leaned this way and that way, and they were just sitting on rocks on the corners. And had, I guess, 12 underfingers. I was born in that house. And it had that black tar paper on the outside, and, in the lap.
Right.
That's what it had on the outside. And my mother had it, some part of it inside. There was 2 in the house. Part of it inside, she had papers with newspapers. Put it on there and put it on there,
Was
But there wasn't no insulation whatsoever.
But wasn't there a layer of boards on the inside of the stud?
Just the one board up.
Board on the outside, and that's it. No boards on it.
That's it. But they had the tar paper on the outside.
Yeah.
And they had a little other stuff on the inside. But that's where I was born in there.
You have running water?
Yeah, it's a windmill way out there.
Had a windmill. Okay. Yeah. Outdoor John.
Oh yeah, I got a pretty picture of it.
How long?
We had outdoor John forever.
Did they ever get electricity while you was there?
Never did. When I lived there.
When did you leave there?
1950.
You lived there till 1950? With your mother and father? When did you get married?
My mother died about 2 weeks after I come home from the Army. And then I got married in 48, I think.
In 48, you'd have been
Just 28 years old.
Yeah.
You're nearly over the hill. I know, I didn't get married till I was 29.
You didn't? Shit, I got married when I was 20, barely 20.
So did your father still live there with you?
Yeah.
So how
he
long?
lived there, and then that gal, she didn't fit in too well. She went back home.
Your first
And
wife?
then I went and got another one, a native gal, and she stayed with me. 148.
You say a native gal, you native to Colorado or a native Indian?
Native in the country there where I was born.
Yeah, are you talking about an Indian or just somebody that lived there? Somebody that lived there. Your
Born
mom
and raised
wasn't
there.
an Indian, was she?
She was born in 48,
49.
49, whenever it was.
Is there any Indian you have any Indian blood? No. Your wife doesn't either?
No.
His
I
wife.
do, but not enough to get any money out of it.
So you lived there in 1950 and then you go to Canyon City?
Moved down here.
Moved down here. Well, when did you work in the prison up there?
1960 something, I think.
Oh, you moved back up there for a while.
Yeah, well, yeah. Here, I moved here in 1950, and now over here behind, well, I stayed over there on a farm till 1956.
So you
Then
were
I
born
sold
here
out
in Colorado.
and moved to Canyon City then. And then I worked at a rock company where they ground rock. I hauled rock mined it out there, brought it in, and got it over the hillside, ground it up, and then they put me on the damn truck hauling to Denver.
I got to go sometime.
Yeah.
I hauled to Denver, and finally then I decided to go to the penitentiary, so I went down there.
How long did you work there?
7.5 years.
Where was that? What city was that?
Canyon City.
Well, they've got quite a array of prison facilities there now. Have you been back there in a long time?
Oh, yeah.
They got a big program there that trains horses and trains dogs. They say it's real progressive. They say it's real nice.
Yeah, they train a lot of Mustangs.
Yeah.
They used to have a whole garden and facility outside the canyon there. But a lot of the convicts
Cannon factory, yeah. We
used to work at. They used to work at. The prisoners did, but now they don't have it.
When you were trying to raise crops out there, you didn't have any irrigation. It's just all dry land farmland.
No, we didn't have that.
What did you ever? How long did it take? How many years was it before you made a crop after the Dust Bowl?
Probably about 7 years.
Did you make any crop before you went off the military?
Not many.
When did you go?
About 42, I
42. What were you working off the place? Did you work other
think.
places?
Working out there.
What did you do? Working as a cowboy somewhere?
Send me up to Denver and send me to California. And I was up there by, where Vandenberg Air Force Base is now. That was an Army base when I was out there. That's where I was at.
Well, before you went in the military, were you just working on the farm, or did you?
Yeah.
You didn't work anyplace else?
I didn't
Probably
know where
wasn't
the
no
job
place
was.
else to work.
Yeah.
Well, a ranch. There's some ranches around there, weren't there?
Yeah, but hey,
What do you think?
Well, what? Tell me. You remember? Your dad must have plowed before the dust storms
Yeah,
took the soil away.
corn.
So, for corn and whatnot. Do you remember the grass that grew wild there back then? What kind of grass it was or anything?
well, they have buffalo grass.
Buffalo grass. It's tough, isn't it? It's
How
roots
many-
stay in the ground good.
How many acres were you actually trying to farm?
We wound up with, we own 480.
You weren't plowing that with a mule.
No, we had tractors.
Oh, okay.
But we did all use horses. We had 480 and had 350 leased across the road. And we moved out of that sand and moved over on a guy's place that wasn't nobody living on. We moved over there and decided him to give him floors for rent, what it was. He lived in the hard ground. It was Dutch. There was no sand. There wasn't no sand over there so much. Because they blew something up at the fence and them thistles, But we lived there. He had 800 acres. We lived there for 17 years, I think, on that place. And we had the government run 6 months, cattle 6 months a year on the government. Took them right across the road and put them in the corner gate right there into the government place.
What did you pay them by the head?
I think you have to do something, I think.
Where you raised wheat then on all that ground?
We raised some wheat there.
You didn't raise corn out there, did you?
Used to raise some big corn way back early.
Before the dust bowl.
Well, I heard them say on that particular day that they thought that one storm counted as much dirt in the area as what they took out of Panama Canal, and I had a little trouble with that.
Yeah, that sounds a little.
I don't know how they calculate that much dirt.
That
But it was pretty bad the way I understood it.
They had, I don't know if it was that one or one other big one, they said that it went all the way to New York City, and they said they had reports of it reduced visibility 300 miles out in the ocean. That's a pretty big dust storm.
Mm.
It is. I was flying from Tucson to Phoenix. Oh shit, that's been about 7 or 8 years ago. And a big sandstorm came up. And it was just like, it was pinkish orange looking stuff. And we landed in Phoenix, and they had, when we picked up whoever was supposed to get on, I think got off. And then they had like about 35, 40 planes waiting for that sandstorm to pass so they could get going. And we were behind all of them. And for some reason, after the sandstorm passed, the controllers gave our pilot a path down this way to the runway. And all these 45 or 50 planes ahead of us were just sitting there, and we somehow got down. I think it's because I was on the plane.
I remember the dust storms in Texas in the 50s that were bad enough that we couldn't drive. We had to stop.
Yeah,
There wasn't very many of them, but there were
all
some
of
that
the
were bad.
cars, all the license tags and front of the fenders and all were just grimy, shiny, bright colors, the sand and gravel on the road, just going down the road, just like that stuff all over.
Yeah, it would. I remember that too. It messed up the paint on cars in the 50s.
And enough electricity, most of the time, you'd be going down the road, that Model A just is traveling right along, and that sucker just died. You'd have to get out and set a tire tool up against the damn fender on the ground and ground it and crank her up and go again.
You know, we were talking about this the other day. I remember when I was a kid, every time you saw a truck that was hauling anything flammable, like gasoline, they always had a chain dragging on the ground.
Yeah.
What happened to that?
I don't know. I hadn't seen that since I was a kid.
I
But
mean,
everybody had it.
Yes, sir. Everyone.
Yeah.
Well,
And
would it be because of the electricity
Yeah.
start a fire, and if that grounded it,
But
that's what they
started?
But you don't see it anymore.
No.
They figured out something different. I don't know what it is.
They probably figured didn't make any difference. That's probably what they
Well,
figured.
they probably got better.
Well, they found out if you have
stuff for it now, too.
if you had an electric line fall across your truck and you had that thing on the ground, it'd electrocute you, wouldn't it?
Probably
It's the
would.
rubber that keeps you from getting in trouble if you're
Now, some of the air, like the Cessnas, have
Dragon chain probably
Whips on the
caused
back
some
of their-
sparks that blew up a truck or two,
they
you'd
lay
think.
I don't know
How that worked.
Wouldn't seem like a car, you know, just dying. You get one
All
of
the
them
other brands don't have.
car
it.
tubes
They
out,
claim that
sticking the
bleeds
dirt
off
and leaning
anything,
up
but
against the
it's-
fender, that
no
metal,
other
and
claims that Cessnas have it.
figure right on.
Did you ever, well, you didn't live out here, but you did. Did you ever travel and carry a plastic or a canvas bag on the front of your car for water?
No.
You never did that? That's real popular in Texas. You'd go, like when we go on up out west to see some of my brothers and sisters already got married. It's 3 or 4 hours. You'd see all the time people, they'd buy these canvas bags, and they had a spout on one end down here, a metal spout, and you'd fill that thing up with water and hang it on your front bumper. And I don't know what they had inside of it, but I know it didn't spill out, and you could stop, and sure enough, that water would be nice and cool. That wind going across that
Yeah.
bag would cool it off. You never seen those?
It was for drinking rather than for pouring in the
Oh,
car.
yeah. No, they was for drinking. Well, once in a while, you might see somebody have to stop. In fact,
Never seen it. No, never seen it.
In fact, I've seen a lot of people that you'd be driving along and going somewhere, and you'd cross a place where there's little brink of water. Be some old boy sitting there, and he's down there dipping him some water up. In fact, I've done that. The old pickup daddy had one time.
Well, we never had electricity on our place till 54.
Really?
Same year
In Georgia?
we bought a little bee farm all tractor.
Well, that's in Missouri.
That's in Missouri, yeah.
I don't know when they got it up there. They probably left there in 50 sometime.
Now, we had it available in 52, but we never got it until, it was put down the road. But we were 40 miles off the road.
What's the name of that town again?
Pritchett.
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 And is it still there?
Yeah.
Is it? How big is it?
Oh, not very. It used to be, but a good size. Hell, they had 3 grocery stores and all kind of stuff there.
Well, they had a couple of those when I grew up.
They all closed up. There was still a bunch of people living in that town.
I was looking at the other day. They got that
My
deal.
sister lived there.
You know, you can get online. You can see everything now. The satellite. You can go back and look at anything you want to look at on satellite now.
Oh, on Google Earth?
You know, Google Earth.
Yeah, I do.
So I was looking at a little old town I grew up in, down there south of Wichita Falls, 60 miles, and it had about, the most we ever had was about 1,200 people, and usually it run about 700 or 800 to about 12, depending on where the oil companies is at. Well, they're about 600 or 700 now, but you know, they've had pretty good oil revenues in the last few years. I looked down there the other day. They got a brand new school they built last year.
This little town where you grew up?
Yeah. In a town of 600 people, how many people do you think go to that school? 150 maybe? 200?
Yeah.
But they got,
max.
$100 a barrel oil. You get pretty good tax revenue off that oil left there.
Yeah, when y'all were selling oil back before they kept all the wells, it was what, like $5 a barrel or something like that?
No, $3 a barrel.
$3 a barrel.
If you remember, it was $3 a barrel in about 78 or 9, and then about 2 years later, it was $30 a barrel.
Well, I think it was...
Yeah, I bought a motorhome just before it doubled in price.
No, well, that was a good idea, wasn't it?
Right, in 1980 it was. This kid, I was a sponsor in AA in 1980, and he moved back to Texas, and what's that town west of Dallas, or east of Dallas, starts with a T, probably 50 miles east of
Temple?
No.
Tyler?
Tyler.
That's south.
He moved back to Tyler, Texas, and he said that all his family owned quite a few wells. He said we've capped all of them. We're gonna wait for things to get better. This was 1980, and then he called me. The next time he called me, he said, "Joe, man, I've been just getting out of the hospital." I said, "What the hell happened?" He said, "Well, I got beat up." I said, "You got beat up?" He said, "Yeah, this son bitch beat me up with a tire on him." I said, "Why?" And he said, "Well, the only thing I was doing was messing with his wife." That's for real. That's a real story. And his wife, when he was in Georgia, his wife was banging everybody. And so I guess he thought that was okay, That was just the way it was done.
That little old town where I grew up had lots of production for the 1920s on. But those wells would go down to where there's what they call stripper wells. They just do 2 or 3, 5, some of them maybe 10 barrels a day. They couldn't pump them every day because they had to wait till they fill up the food. In about the late 70s, my daddy was on the board of trustees of the bank. And the time they put in business, those tiny dollars. Little old bank about the size of one of these rooms right here. But the old people had been around and had been around the oil business all their lives. And you know what a pumper is?
Yeah.
Pumper's a guy that goes out and gauges the tank and he checks on the well. Well, there's 2 or 3 pumpers there. Several in town, and 2 of them in particular were pretty good old boys. They just high school grads got out and got married and had 2 or 3 kids and got them a job pumping. And they'd been doing it for several years, and they came to the bank and said, "Look," said, "these people are going to shut down some of these wells out here. We're going to get out of the job," and they're willing to sell these wells for the salvage value of the pipe. So there's no value in them. Three barrel a day well, that's $3 a day, that's $9 a day. You couldn't operate. Then if you ever had to clean it out, it cost $10,000, $15,000. And they said, "We think if you'd let us borrow some money and buy those, just your security's going to be good because you can always go salvage the wells." And we can keep on pumping, and, you know, we think we can make a living off of it. So they loaned them money. One of them was Willard Slipton, and the other one named Kendall. I forgot how many wells they had, but they probably had 10 or 15 feet. And I think the wells were about $6,000 to $10,000, so probably $60,000 to $70,000. And they operated those things for about 2 years, and all of a sudden that oil hit $30 a barrel, and the salvage value of those wells went to about 4 times what it was. Willard and Mr. Kendall lived real well the last 6 years. He's doing good. He was cutting with a big auger real quick. Not only could they make enough money more off the wells, but then they could go back and forth and clean them out, make the production increase. So it got real. It's time to go to work.
Well, get your boys.
Let me ask a question about eating.
I have
Now,
cut and cleared. And
since I've known you, you're always lean, healthy, looking man. When you were a little kid, how'd you get so big and grow to be such a big man? Beans and potatoes.
Chicken eggs.
Chicken eggs. Didn't get to eat the chicken that you ate.
Meat. He loved the meat. We had meat all the time.
But you didn't have a lot of greens and stuff out there.
I don't eat greens, period.
He didn't eat
Green beans,
today.
like
He didn't eat them.
No, you can't hold that many at a time.
beans here today,
He lives out the side.
Well, people,
You know that house that when you fly
it
over
seems
the
to me that
well, there's a barn.
Yeah.
And the house
you're my mother's age. She didn't live until 82 or 3, but I think you're her age now. Are you born in 12? I mean, you were born in 20, and that's when my mother was born. She died 12 years ago, but or 10 years ago. But a lot of people that grew up on farms back in the day
he started building a wall in front.
had just local food that you could grow there mostly.
And he got that
And they're a lot healthier, live longer and healthier than these kids that are right now that are fat and ballooned on sweets and all kinds of junk food.
Now lettuce I do and cabbage. I've got a bunch of onions and stuff like that.
Tomatoes.
I believe that would like a lot like that stuff.
When you told me that I don't want any, what are you moving if you don't have a job to put it on?
I've got the only thing that I haven't cleaned up and got the
Well, it's just human beings can live on a lot of different foods,
still one little
unlike certain critters that have to have certain limited things. Well, did you ever hear of little blue stem or big blue stem grass out there?
That's what I thought.
How much blue stem in one country? A little bit.
Pull that thing down.
Here in Kansas,
Yeah,
blue stem. But we have a little bit.
a little bit of
A
it.
little bit of drought. Low places.
Hold a little more moisture.
No, well, he's not going to get to work on it until he's putting.
I know one time there's nothing there, we mowed it.
Looks like a dry stack and hold it, so you won't
I
make
think
it pain.
let it dry and set it, I think.
We'll, as soon as it dries out, we'll come to it.
It's just in them little old spots where it's at.
But that buffalo grass you're saying, that's what's real tough and grows in that dry country.
Well, I'm going to get out of here, boys and girls.
Yeah, nowadays people are talking about trying to restore those native grass species because you don't have to have as much water for them. They'll come back every year from the roots.
All I've been doing out there is cutting brush and cleaning the rock.
How long did you work for Campbell Soup?
And getting ready to serve.
Oh, about 16 and a half years I worked out there.
16 and a half?
Out there, not too far from the place.
Yeah, there's still, that land behind there is kind of like,
Needs a lot of work.
it's
Well, that's what you got.
prairie land
Yeah, it's done.
in that draw down behind on the east side, and talked them into
My daughter, she worked 40 years out there.
40 years.
What you should have done when you found out it had all that
The only
termite.
problem is there's so much shit to tear down.
Oh.
If I had it hauled off.
Well, thanks for letting me talk. That's good memories. I wish my daddy was still here to talk about some of his.